Alright, the Dallas Mavericks just beat the Los Angeles Clippers 105-100. Really exciting game. This has been a weird series. Kind of beat Blazers, Nuggets has been a weird series, and this one as well. And Suns Lakers has become obviously really interesting as well. But it looked like Luka was injured really bad and that the Mavericks weren't going to win any games really the rest of the series, but he looked absolutely awesome tonight. 42 points, looked back to being Luka. Other guys around him stepped up again. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a nice game, 20 points. Porzingis wasn't killer, but he gave him something. You know, like it was only 8 points, but he hit a big three to put him up 10 again and pretty much seal it. They started Boban, which I found was interesting, but he really weirdly kind of anchored their zone 3 quarters basically, and he was effective somewhat. He had 7 rebounds, 9 points. Luka was at least able to throw it to him. He's a big guy to put in the pick and roll. And, you know, like Luka, this whole series and pretty much this game, people go, well, why isn't Kawhi on him? This and this and that. And, like, they try, but he's just getting any switch they want. Pretty much because the Clippers are running a switchable lineup, they're like, I guess we'll just switch. And he gets whoever he wants switched onto him, like Reggie Jackson, Batum. Pretty much he doesn't care who's on him. Like, Kawhi's not the same defender as he once was. Like, can we just admit that? Like, he's awesome offensively now, and he's still good defensively. Like, but Luka can blow by him and do whatever he wants against him. It's not like Kawhi's really going to stop him, in my opinion. And we saw that tonight with Luka having 42. It wasn't rough, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but it wasn't as good as we have seen. I think that the fact that the Mavericks went into the zone today, which I kind of surprised saying this, but when they ran the zone, like it really kind of stopped the Clippers. They didn't shoot it that well, and it really stopped the drives of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, which killed them the last 2 games. It's also crazy that like probably both teams are going to lose all their home games. I don't know if that's ever happened before. Someone will have to check me on that stat where every team's won all the road games. But like I said, Tim Hardaway Jr. came out aggressive. You know, the Clippers were throwing everything they could at Luka at some point, and he's just too good. Like, he can analyze the double and throw it to Tim Hardaway Jr., Porzingis, guys like that. The Mavericks reacted to the Clippers going small, and, you know, like I said, having 2 7-footers out there, Boban and Porzingis. I know Porzingis wasn't that great, and honestly, it's so rough watching him. It's like you're 7'2", 7'3", but you play like you're 6'2". Like, go in the paint one time. Be effective defensively. Do something, dude. But he did hit that big 3 at the end, so I guess you can give him that. Like, I'm surprised by how effective Boban is. In the 4th quarter, I was like, okay, why are you still playing him? Because he got torched when they went back to man, because they kind of had to. Clippers figured out their zone in the 3rd quarter early on, and then the Mavericks went on a nice run to end the 3rd quarter, going for the last 6 minutes pretty much on a 25-5 run, which seemed like it would have sealed it for them. I believe they went up like 11 at the end of the 3rd quarter, but Clippers come storming back, Mavericks got super stagnant. They weren't stopping Luka, but they were kind of throwing everything else at him, and everyone else around him started missing shots. So then at the end, Luka got himself going, and, you know, the Clippers tried to stop him, and they had no answers for him, and then he got others going. Like, Hardaway hit a big 3, Porzingis hit a big 3, like I said, and Luka himself was big. In the first half, Luka had 27. Paul George and Kawhi both had 11 each. Marcus Morris had a nice game. He shot it a lot better. Not something like, you're not going to get that a whole lot from him, in my opinion. You know, they obviously way overpaid for him. They got 16 from him, 4 of 8 from the 3-point line. You would think he would probably win a game like that. He's not like a crazy guy to go off. Like, it's not crazy that he had 16. It's just definitely not something he's had before. I like Carlisle running the zone, honestly, and going big against the Clippers. Like, I wouldn't say Boban was effective, but he at least, like, I threw that word out a few times, but I wouldn't say exactly that, but he was at least something. He threw him off for the first half. You know what I mean? Like, he was able to affect shots. He didn't have a block, I believe, but he was affecting shots. Someone to throw the ball into that, you know, he's going to catch it. He's 7'6". He put it up there. It is crazy when he drops the ball down where everyone else can get it. It's like, you're 7'6". Just keep the ball up. No one's going to hit it out of your hands. But he had 9 points, and he wasn't killer, but he wasn't trash. Like, he didn't kill him defensively. And like I said, it seemed like it was over for Luka and the Mavericks, honestly. It just seemed like he was so banged up in that game 4, but he came he came out this game aggressive, looking good. Hopefully it's the same in the next game, because not that I don't want the Clippers to win, but I definitely would like to see, for Luka's career and everything, just for him to get his first playoff series win, because in these first 2 years he's been awesome in the playoffs. Like, it couldn't have gotten any better, honestly, for him. So it'd be cool for him to get this win and really begin his legacy, because already he's such an impressive young player. He's only like 21, 22, and the things that he's doing, the fact that he controls the pace and whatnot, like him and Ja are similar ages, and they're both really good, but you can see how far Luka is, and that he controls the game. Ja's not there yet. That's the next step for Ja. So it's pretty cool, like, how far ahead of like his peers Luka is, because his peers aren't necessarily like LeBron and whatnot, but Luka and Boban in the pick and roll were very productive today. Pretty much anyone, it didn't matter as long as Luka got the mismatch they wanted to. I'm so surprised that like the Clippers, and in the fourth they did a little bit less switching, but still, like, how reluctant they are to switch. Like, they don't care. I know you're trying to instill confidence into your guys, but man, I know Paul George and Kawhi haven't done that great of a job, but I'd rather have those guys on than like Batum, Reggie Jackson. Like, I can't even believe Zubac was out there when he was. Like, in the first half he really wasn't, but like in the second half there was a lot of Zubac and Luka out there together. I mean, not second half, sorry. Second quarter, Zubac was out there a lot. Same with third quarter, a little bit in the fourth. And then the fourth quarter, Clippers went into it up 11-10. They in the first 6 minutes, they only scored like 4 points, or 6 points. And I believe all 6 of them were from Luka. Clippers went on a nice 12-2 run themselves to get them back in the game. Within one, they got a steal. Terrence Mann did. He went driving down the court. He passed it to Batum, who missed a layup. It wasn't wide open. Like, there were guys around him. The Mavericks got the rebound. Tim Hardaway Jr. made the 3 throws. So pretty much from that point on, the Mavericks pretty much sealed the deal. Big time performance from the Mavs. They stepped up defensively, offensively. Pretty much, I think the X factor, this is what I would have thought was Porzingis in the series, but it's really been Tim Hardaway Jr. When they've gotten good games out of him, they've won. So hopefully they can continue to get that, and definitely the most exciting game of the night. And we'll move on to the other games here real quick. We'll start with Knicks Hawks, because that was probably the second most exciting game. A lot of these games are just blowouts. Hawks, I don't have a ton from this game. Like, it was kind of a blowout. Honestly, like, the Knicks were so exciting and fun this year, like the whole story and everything, and I guess it's one of those rare predictions I got right, but I just thought that the Hawks are too talented. I didn't think that they would beat them in 5, and arguably you could say that they probably should have swept the Knicks here. If a few things go different in game 2, if DeAndre Hunter hits some threes, Bogdanovich has a better game, and Nate McMillan pulls his head out of his ass and calls a timeout when the Knicks, go on their run and the crowd gets back into it, they probably should have swept this. Knicks had no answer for the high pick and roll with Trae Young, or just any pick and roll, and Trae Young got to every spot he wanted to. And in this game, I thought the Hawks looked more athletic and had the fresher legs. Knicks looked old and slow and tired, which you could say they are kind of an old team, and they got beat to the ground. This is what you've seen for Tibbs' teams. Not that they necessarily choke in playoffs, because I don't know how many people actually thought the Knicks would win this series. But they just had so many minutes on them, and they grinded every night. But, credit to them. Awesome season. No expectations for them coming into this year. I'm interested to see how they respond next year and what they look like. I thought that RJ needed to be a bit more aggressive in this series, and he really wasn't. It wasn't that Randall was like trash this series. Like, it wasn't what we expected from him. Like, he had an alright game, 23 points, but like, he was so indecisive throughout the series. Like, really making slow decisions. Something that was so impressive throughout the regular season was quick decisions, reacting, which is what playoff basketball is. It's reacting, not thinking. And the Hawks were doing that. They were free flowing. They were hitting their shots all series. They were awesome. Trae had just such a feel for the game and for the moment. Came up big so many times. Really, I just want to go back and state like how much of a mess the Hawks were halfway through this year. They were a cultural mess. Collins and Trae Young were going at it reportedly, and had a heated argument during a film session. Players not liking Lloyd Pierce. That came out once he got fired, and kind of before that, they were hurt. They had so many guys out. Gallinari missed a lot of games. Trae himself did. Hunter. Bogdanovich, once he came back, they got good. And then obviously bring in Nate McMillan. Who knows? Maybe if those guys get healthy and they keep Lloyd Pierce, that they win. But hard to say that, obviously, saying that look where the Hawks are now. They're playing the 76ers. And I'm not saying that they're going to beat the 76ers, but they're not in the worst spot playing the 76ers with a banged up Joel Embiid with that partially torn meniscus. Don't love that. And that's kind of my biggest concern with the 76ers was, like, what do they look like without him? It's not great. I know that they caught fire, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but can Joel Embiid stay healthy throughout a playoff run? We just haven't seen it. And we'll see. The Hawks can definitely catch fire. I would think the 76ers would win, but I don't have a whole lot from this game, honestly. And from the series, this is kind of how I thought it would go. I thought that the Knicks would be a bit more competitive, but we just saw that the Hawks have way more talent. Before Embiid got hurt, I really could care less about the series. 76ers wrapped it up in about how many games I thought it would go. Like, the Wizards I knew would be at least competitive, just because, like, Beal and Westbrook aren't going to back down. And, they had, scoring-wise, somewhat of a nice series. Rui Hachimura had a nice game. Once they started starting Daniel Gafford, things went better, and obviously not having Embiid out there helps. Sixers came out slow. It looked like they couldn't generate any offense without Joel Embiid. Defensively, they didn't quite look the same, which was a bit surprising, but, in the second half, they got it going. They're just better team than the Wizards. Tobias Harris really stepped up, which just kind of surprised me. 28 points. Ben Simmons, 19. Aggressive Ben Simmons is awesome. Like, he wasn't super aggressive, but just him at least trying to be a scoring threat is, always fun. Seth Curry had a massive night, 30 points, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. And Maxey himself had great minutes, 13. I thought was real aggressive and a spark plug and really kept him in there in the second quarter because it looked like the Wizards were going to run away with this one. And it's like, are the Wizards really going to send us to 6 games? And then you have the, do me over them is, can they win without Joel Embiid? Is he going to play in the next game? And they didn't have to worry about it. They pulled this one out and blew them out, 129 to 112 to 112. I don't know why I said 112. That's weird. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot from this series or game, really. We'll see how healthy and what Joel Embiid looks like in the next series. They're going to have some days off. It'll be interesting. Hawks, 76ers. 76ers, I love the size that they can throw against the Hawks, but if Embiid's not healthy, either way, I think that the Sixers will win like 6. But without Embiid, it could be interesting. But at the end of the day, I do like the size that they can throw at Trae Young and the boys there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Should be an interesting series. I know me and Eddie will talk about it more when that series starts. And then last game tonight, second to last game. The last game I'll cover. Grizzlies, Utah. Again, don't have a whole lot from this game. Went how I thought it would go. Utah just has too much for them. Grizzlies are so fun. They tried so hard. That's what was so awesome about them. They were in like every game besides this one. You could see the inexperiences, the turnovers, not knowing when to slow it down, not knowing when to speed it up. They just didn't have enough three-point shooting as well to keep up with the Jazz. And I can't wait to see what the Grizzlies look like in a few years because I think that they could be like the Jazz in a sense. Maybe not as great as a three-point shooting team, but they have so many options and such a great young core that it's going to be fun to see them grow and see what they become. Jazz just came out and punched them in the face, and the Grizzlies just got knocked out straight up. It was like a boxing match. Jazz said, we're ending this, and the Grizzlies just had enough. Ja was spectacular this series. Dylan Brooks himself. Not to say that he put himself on the map, because I think a lot of the non-casual fans really know who he was, but you can see it. The casual fans coming out in the playoffs, nothing wrong with that. Totally get it. Got a taste of Dylan Brooks, and I think we all did, to see like that he's part of the big moment. I knew that at Oregon. He had a ton of big moments. Was good defensively and whatnot. Mitchell just being back. I think one of the biggest reasons why the Jazz lost game 1, besides, Ja going nuclear, was I think just the news of they thought that they had their guy back and he didn't play. That's a big deal. I think that definitely, shaking things up for the Jazz. But he came out determined in the series. He was killer, 30 and 10. Conley got hurt, hamstring. Hopefully he's all right because he's a really big part of what they do. Clarkson had a great game, 24. Gobert, they had no answers. The Grizzlies did for Gobert offensively, which is kind of funny to say. He had a nice series with that high pick and roll, and it helps when you have so many shooters around you. Royce O'Neal, Bogdanovich, they just have so many guys, and it'll be interesting to see who they play coming out if it's Mavericks, Jazz. I just want to end with, I have no feel for the West. You could tell me, any of these teams that are still in it could go make it out of the West. I wouldn't say you're crazy, honestly. So we'll see what happens there. It's been not a boring first round, but it's not as exciting as we thought some of the series would be, like, Heat, Bucks wasn't that exciting. Hawks, Knicks wasn't that exciting. But the West has been pretty exciting, so that's always awesome. Please, if you haven't already, please subscribe and like this video. And if your friends enjoy basketball or sports content, please share our account with them. Have a great night.